All right, welcome back, Laguna. Fun track to drive. If you are new to it, it can be a pretty crashy track. It can be a pretty tough track to learn, to get fast anyway. Should be a popular track, I think. Should be good participation. So, little change in philosophy. So this season, season 3, 2024, there was a few tracks that had off-camber corners and some funky corners, and so some of my setups had lower cambers. Um, some of you commented in the track guides that switching to more normal tracks where the corners are more neutral and more cambered, that you found using the setups for those off-camber tracks worked better. I tried it myself and I found it did work a little better as well. So I think there's going to be a change in philosophy for season 4. So stay tuned. There'll be some new track guides with a different approach to the setups. This is the old Laguna setup. This is for a track that's, I think, was hovering around 19, 20 degrees, 21 degrees, so quite a bit cooler than this season. This is the old setup, so you can see ride heights 14, 57.5%, brake bias, spring rates low as they go. Cambers are turned up pretty high, 1.5, 1.9 on the right. Toes not all that high, and then in the rear, not super high cambers, but high enough, 1.2, 1.3. So the changes is lowering those cambers quite a bit, and that changes things up an awful lot. I did try this setup in the new track temps, which is hovering around 38, 40 degrees, something like that. Um, and then ride height ARB is turned down. Well, it's not turned down, but it's only 10, about halfway through. So I did try this setup with the higher track temps, which is around 38, 40 degrees, somewhere in there. I struggled a bit, that's for sure. And so I did go back and look at redoing the cambers and such, switching it back to some of those off-camber track style. And I did pick up a lot more time. The times I was getting um, with the old setup on the hot track, I changed to the lower cambers and I dropped about 6/10 off my time. Quite a big difference. So yeah, that's the old setup. Try it out if you like. It certainly was fast at the time when I made this. That was probably about a year ago. Um, so we will switch. This is the new setup. So you can see ride height is the same, minus 14 in the front, not quite as low as it goes. There are these red sausages that mark the apexes here. In a race, you're probably going to touch them here and there, and if your car is super low, those can really send your car flying and spinning and that kind of thing. So the ride height is up a little bit. That way, if you touch them a bit, you're not going to be in too much trouble. Damper compression turned down from the old setup, 21. Again, a lot of uphill and downhill braking, so that's just turned up one notch. Brake bias, 57%. For me, that's pretty low. So whatever brake bias you're usually running, it's probably going to be a little bit on the lower side, and that is because the cambers are turned way down. There's more tire on the track, and so braking is much more effective. So that is one thing that I am finding is working a lot better. So getting into the suspension stuff, spring rates low as they go, front and back, just to get you more grip. So now we get into the cambers. So 0.9 on the left. If you know my channel, you know I like to play around with the cambers. 1.3 on the right because it's doing a bit more of the work. Lots of left-hand turns, putting pressure onto the right-hand side. You don't have to change the cambers up. You can keep them even. If you are going to keep them even, then stick with the 0.9. I just have the right turned up a bit just to make use of those corners that you're turning left on. toe is turned up. Because the cambers are turned down, the car isn't as pointy, so the toe is turned up 1.4. So that's fairly high on the toe, and that helps get you better turn in. It also helps put heat into the tires and makes braking more effective again. So that's why the brake bias is lower than normal for me. Spring rates in the back, again, low as they go. Camber, so you can see quite a big drop in the rear cambers, 0.8 on the left, 1.2 on the right. Again, if you're keeping the cambers even, go with the 0.8. And the toe is, well, it's not turned up super high. I found turning up the toe more than this started to get the back end a little easier to let go. And in the rear, so minus 13, that's just to keep the rear just a notch higher than the front, just to keep the rate in a proper ratio. And now, because we've got more tire on the track and the suspension is quite soft, there's a lot of understeer, and so the ARB is turned up to 20. Now, if you're new to the Ray, or if you're struggling a bit with the Ray, that 20 may sound intimidating. It is not. Honestly, it is not. Because the grip is really good with the cambers turned down, the 20 is not as scary as it might sound to those who are new to this. If you're learning the track for the first time, if you're giving this setup a try for the first time, you might want to try 15 millimeters just to make the car a little bit more forgiving. But rotating the car around this track is really important. So that front toe in is turned up to make the car turn in better, and the ARB is turned up to get the car to rotate better. And in all honesty, it is quite doable. It shouldn't give you too much trouble. It may take a lap of practice, but that 20 mil is quite doable. Compression in the rear is left the same, 13 liters. That will get you to the end of the race. 12 is probably getting a little too risky, but you might want to try it, see if you can do it. And gear stack is short. iRacing setup, I believe, has this set at normal. I find short is much better. Going through the corners, it is just feels more natural. If you're one of the faithful using a stick, short also probably is going to be more up your alley. You're going into corners in a gear that just works better. So give that a try with short. If you're using a stick, I think it will make life a little easier for shifting. So track is 37 degrees. Yeah, I've been in some practice sessions. 37, 40 degrees seems to be the range. Testing is 0% usage, so that's not great, but managed to make it work. And yeah, we'll go through the corners in slow-mo and then run it out at full speed. So coming into turn one in fourth gear, obviously you can see at the rev limit just a little bit before the braking. So that's the only real shortcoming of this short stack is, yeah, in this start-finish straight, you do reach the rev limit just before braking. So looking for this white line. Getting on the brakes in real time, it looks like I'm braking at the line, but in slow-mo, obviously just a little bit before. Fourth gear, shifting down into second, hard on the brakes, very hard on the brakes, and this is downhill, so this is where your brake bias is going to come in. If you're locking up too easy here, just increase it a little bit. You do not want to be locking up into this corner. And then looking for this white line starting the turn in, shifting down into second, and then kind of where this one board is, depending on your view, that's when you're really starting to turn in and just getting off the brakes past that, releasing the brakes, and then picking up the throttle just a little bit. You don't want to stomp on it, but picking it up just a little bit, getting onto the white patch here, and that throttle just helps keep the back end a little bit more planted. Easy to spin out here. Watch out in lap one. Going to be a lot of crashes here, people trying to pass, and cold tires. This is a very dangerous spot. And then again, getting right up close to that red sausage marker, picking up the throttle, and working your way up into third. Make use of all of the white curb on exit, but just don't touch the sand. So up into third, looking just past the 2 marker between the 2 and the 1, shifting, or not shifting, just a dab of brakes, leaving it in third, and then at this 1 marker, kind of turning in here and releasing the brakes. Again, this can be a very unsettling corner, easy to spin out. Little bit of throttle just to keep that back end getting up tight to that red sausage. And then just unwinding the wheel, making use of all the track, again using all that white stuff on exit, just don't touch the sand, leaving it in third. Actually no, that's wrong, shifting up into fourth for a short time, and then looking just to downshift here, or just no, I'm sorry, getting my corners mixed up, just lifting off the throttle at the 2 board. Cold tires, maybe just a dab of brake, but just lifting that just loads up the front end, and at the end of the white stuff here, turning in. Again, you don't want to turn in too early here. If you turn in too early, you're really going to compromise your exit. And then just easing on the throttle, and again getting real close to that red sausage curb, and full throttle, making you'll probably make use of all the track here on exit. Not quite as important to run it out so wide here. So in fourth gear, looking for this white line again in real time. It looks like I'm braking at the white line. Down into third gear, pretty good blast of brakes just to slow the car down, and then looking for this 1 board again, starting the turn in and releasing the brakes. Again, this is a very tricky corner, easy to lose it. If you are on those brakes too hard and turn the wheel, you are going to be spinning. And getting right up tight against that, just managing the throttle, picking it up as early as possible. Probably should have been on the throttle a little bit more, a little earlier there. Lost a little time through that one, and then unwinding the wheel and making use of all of that curb. Just watch out if you're already too far to the right and you hit this grate or the sand. You're probably not going to die, but you are going to go for a ride in the sand and lose a tremendous amount of time and positions. So up in fourth, this can be a passing opportunity, a very dangerous one, but there will be people going for it. So at the 2 board, cold tires, maybe just a dab of brake, but once the tires are warm, just a downshift. Just shift down into third. You're going to be at the rev limit, but it gives you the perfect amount of speed coming through here, just picking up the throttle nice and early before the apex. And then I had a little bit of a brain fart here. I should have shifted up into fourth by now, but I didn't. Making use of all of the white stuff here. Touching the sand gets you the X, and if you are near this little drainage thing, you're going to lose control of the car pretty easy. So watch out for that. Do not run too wide through this one. So this is another passing opportunity, so watch out, practice defensive line here. There will be people going for it, especially if you screwed up that last corner. They can catch up real fast. So just on the uphill section of this, it's important to start braking on the uphill section. Once you're over the crest of the hill, slowing the car down is going to be extremely hard to do. So shifting down into second, and you want to have the car slowed down by the time you hit that 1 board. Hard on the brakes in second gear, and then turning in and releasing the brakes. Again, if you are hard on the brakes at this point, you are probably spinning, and then getting onto this curb and picking up the throttle just to get some weight onto that back end, because this obviously is a very tricky section. Cold tires, just watch out. Don't stomp on the throttle. You will spin out. Just ease the throttle on. Ease the throttle on. This is very easy to lose it here. and watch the wheel inputs. If you missed a turn in, if you came in too hot, just don't crank the wheel. You will spin yourself out. And getting over to the right hand side in third gear, and then just starting the turn in, depending on your view and setup, you know, you can see the rubbered in patch here. You just basically kind of want to follow that, shifting up into fourth, and then as you get down the hill, just a little lift just to load the front end up a little bit to get that turn in. You don't want to slide wide here. It's really important to get to this sausage, get this apex right. If you run wide, you will lose a lot of time, surprising amount of time, how much you can lose through this corner and the next one. Fourth gear, get yourself lined up for this one, and then just at the 2 board, just to shift down into third, just a dab of brake just to load up the front end. Again, you do not want to run wide through here. And then picking up the throttle before the apex, getting real close to that red sausage there, and letting the car run out to the curbs. If you came in too hot, you were going to be on that sand and lose a whole bunch of time. You probably won't crash, but you'll lose a whole bunch of time. And then just in real time, it looks like just past the 2 board, but obviously in slow-mo it's kind of at the 2 board, shifting down into second, very hard on the brakes, and then once you get pretty much just before this white section of the curb, starting to turn in just before it, and then once you're kind of lined up with this white section, releasing the brake. Again, easy to spin out here. Get up tight to that sausage curb there. I missed this apex a little bit. And then just picking up the throttle nice and early and making use of all of the green stuff on exit. No X, no penalty for getting onto this green stuff. Touch the sand, I think you get the X. So on the green stuff, no problem. So that is it, a 130.3. Definitely there will be people getting into the 129s, I'm sure. I don't know if I'll be one of them, but I think this setup works quite a bit better. Certainly with this track temp the way it is, I find it much better, and we'll be going into season 4, and I think with this new approach, hopefully setting some faster lap times. So good luck out there. We'll see you next time.